What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. Episode 3 of the Amazon documentary starts off just after the Man United game at the in the players' team room where they're just giving a bit of a dressing down. It starts off with Harry Kane completely selling out his teammates pretty much, talking about how, you know, it's been happening for a long time over the last year and a half. He's talking about he's not sure why it's happening, but maybe it's lack of effort, maybe it's laziness, maybe it's passing on blame to other players. What did you make out of that?
Yeah, I think he was right. I think it's interesting that they kind of glossed over the actual game and they went straight into the team meeting, which is a bit annoying. I'd like to see how the players reacted in the dressing room after the first defeat. But I think Harry Kane perked up. He said he wanted to say something in front of all the players. And he said it's unacceptable how we don't go into challenges, how we just always scared to play our game. Everyone's just set in their positions and they don't want to take responsibility, basically, and it's unacceptable.
And you can see that as a fan as well over the past year and a half. It's just been way too static as opposed to before where it was loads of movement, loads of pressing. That's all I want to say.
And Mourinho adds on to that, saying how, you know, we need to be more physical on our 50-50s on our duels. We have to be more aggressive, and basically we have to be bastards. That's what he said. And Sonny reacted to that, saying he agrees. Basically, he was talking to the camera.
Yeah, and then he gets sent off for violent conduct.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe he took it too much to heart. But yeah, that was quite interesting. Seeing the reaction to our first defeat. At that stage, things were still going okay. I think after this game, we beat Burnley 5-0. We had that wonderful goal from Son. Daniel Levy's talking to Mourinho after that, talking about what a wonderful goal it is.
The great moment from that is, though, after the game when they're all in the dressing room and Mourinho goes into his office and comes back and he goes, "Chelsea lost!"
That was great. That was fantastic. 6 points, Chelsea lost! That was absolutely great. Seeing he's always got one eye on what's going on everywhere else. And then you had Levy chatting with Mourinho having lunch, and he talking about how good Sonny's goal was. And for me, it did not look like Mourinho wanted to be there having that conversation.
It seems as though the majority of times them two are chatting. It's like Levy's trying to make a conversation happen, and Jose just doesn't seem interested and just responds short.
Yeah, I feel like that as well. I feel like Mourinho is kind of thinking something in his head, but he's not. He's obviously trying to be polite and everything, and Levy's trying to get down, talk things. He's trying to talk things through, what goal that was from Son, or how good it was to win in style, or how good that was so good, and talking about Eriksen as well. He's like, you know where you can turn Eriksen? Maybe you can turn him and give him one last try. And Mourinho's like, I can try. Mourinho looks so disinterested. He was like, I can try.
He's just looking like,
he's like, I can try, I guess. And then Levy's like, well then we'll know we've tried everything. He's like one of those I don't know how to describe it.
He just seems like that annoying boss that you don't want to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly what it is. He's like, then we know we've tried everything. He's like, all right,
that overbearing boss.
And Mourinho has this kind of look at it, says, look, he's not signing, get it through your head. And Lily's like, yeah, I'll try again, I guess. That kind of thing, that's how Mourinho looked at it on his face. And then there was a lot of chat with Jan Vertonghen. He was talking about how much he loves Spurs, and he was talking about if he's going to stay or not. He wasn't sure. It's quite funny because it's mirroring how all the fans at the time felt. It was how he felt. He didn't know if he was going to stay or not at the time. And
about his kids in school as well.
Yeah, and they've settled in London, and how Tottenham is so much in his heart. It's been his home for so long. And he doesn't like to think of the idea of leaving Tottenham one day, and he knows one day it's going to have to be his last day, but he doesn't like the idea of that in his head and wants to stay for as long as possible. So in hindsight, looking back at that now, it's such a shame. Obviously we know he's left and he's no longer at Spurs, and it kind of breaks your heart a bit hearing that, knowing that he's going to leave. Yeah,
but then on the flip side you had Toby Alderweireld, who showed them clips of them being together at a very, very young age. These guys have. Toby Alderweireld said he's played more games with Jan Vertonghen than he's played without Jan Vertonghen, which is actually mad when you think about it. But on the flip side, you've got Toby Alderweireld signing that contract, that 3-year deal with his family, and he's just at this stage of my career, I want to be at Spurs.
It was kind of yin and yang.
Yeah, that was great to see. That was great to see with Toby Alderweireld. Really is, and I think his away from the documentary since signing that contract, I think it took him a bit of time, but I think maybe not the best Toby Alderweireld, but we're starting to see a lot better version of Toby.
And he said, you know, he asked himself, do I really see myself playing anywhere but Spurs? And the answer was no. And I think it probably contributed to the fact that no one paid his release clause when they had the opportunity.
Yeah.
They had the opportunity to pay Bayern for 25 million. No one did. So he probably thought at that stage, look, if no big club is willing to pay 25 million for me, and I'm at a good club now in Spurs, is the only way down from here. And they probably all answer yes. So he thought, might as well stay.
Yeah.
And try his best in the Spurs shirt. And I think also the signing Mourinho, you could see how in awe of Mourinho he was. He said in the first episode, you know, one manager he's always wanted to play under was Jose Mourinho. He's really looking forward to it, and I think it contributed a lot to him signing a contract.
Yeah, and then
it was good to see that.
Very nicely edited as well, because straight after those clips, you've got the Wolves game when Jan Vertonghen scores in the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant scenes, by the way, when we were there. Absolutely
brilliant. Yeah, fantastic scene. Saw that game, and then Chelsea lost as well. Just after that, it was cut the gap to 3 points, and then he went to the Chelsea game where, in the preview, you might have heard a certain voice been talking about the preview to that game. I had a little cameo.
Exactly, Tom Hardy, eat your heart out, mate.
Exactly, I could have done the whole thing. Could have saved themselves a lot of money if they just asked me. But so I just had a little 10-second soundbite talking about how big the Chelsea game was, because at the time, if we would have been Chelsea, we would have gone above them. And seeing now in hindsight, as we lost that game, we actually never were above Chelsea at any point after that. That proved how big a moment that was in the season, and that loss was a massive blow. And we did end up losing that game 2-0. I think before that game, you could see Harry Kane trying to G up the players in the dressing room.
It's a fucking North London derby. Derby.
Yeah, but you got to say, we were awful. I remember thinking back that day, we were terrible, and that Gazaniga mistake.
Yeah, Gazaniga should have been sent off, let's be honest.
Yeah, but what was he thinking? You can see Sacramento's reaction to that. He was like, oh God, what's he done?
First half, we were absolutely shocking, 2-0.
Yeah.
But at half time, Mourinho comes into the dressing room, and I thought the team talk he gave was brilliant, to be honest. Absolutely brilliant.
Nothing in the game can affect you. Nothing.
And you know, the more he installs that into the team, hopefully the mentality is going to change.
And if I remember rightly, in the second half, I think Son gets sent off around the hour mark. And for the first 15 minutes, we were starting to get back into it. I remember we were starting to create a chance or two. And then he gets sent off, and it was the game over.
That is why he was so upset when he got sent off. That clip, you felt for Sonny so much.
Why is it red? How is that red?
So much. But I couldn't. When I watched it first time, I couldn't help but laugh.
It was hard to watch.
I couldn't help but laugh, but it is such an emotional moment.
That moment when he's just sitting there in the dressing room alone,
crying,
after being sent off, that was quite emotional.
Yeah.
And you can see, it's quite funny. It's quite interesting. I mean, because you could see. You see him replaying the incident in his mind, because he goes, clearly when he comes back into the dressing room, he's like quite emotional. He's like, that definitely wasn't a red. How is that red? He's screaming, and then once he's like sitting there, you can see it. The cogs turning in his mind when he's alone in the dressing room. He's thinking like, I did really fuck up, didn't I? He's thinking like,
but he said it after the game.
And he admitted. But you can see,
once he's 27 years old now, he shouldn't be doing stuff like that anymore.
You can kind of even see the moment he realised, shit, this is all my fault. It's actually down to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't just some unjust red, I did fuck up. So it was good it was good TV to see that realisation. And it was. And then the documentary, the third one, obviously we had a bit of Eriksen as well. There was a lot of talk about Christian Eriksen, about his contract situation. Daniel Levy obviously trying to convince Daniel Levy trying to convince Mourinho to have another chat that we spoke about before. But Eriksen as well talking about it to the camera, how he's kind of, the media kind of just treat him like a commodity, somewhere they could just show here, there and everywhere. And he was saying how he's still committed to Tottenham, although he does want to try a new challenge. And it was interesting to see, I think you see a clip of Mourinho with analysing him with the coaching staff, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And he was talking about...
it's about how, he doesn't give 100% on the pitch.
They were saying how, on the ball, he's still really good and he keeps the ball ticking and he's good in transitions.
Bringing him on.
But he said when it gets to that moment where it's like, you have to give that extra motivation, put a tackle in, really chase a player down, give that extra edge. That motivation isn't there.
But that as well, that is what we were saying at the time, if you remember correctly. We were saying, Eriksen, get him on the ball. He's absolutely brilliant. He plays that corner into Jan Vertonghen that wins the wins the Wolves game, and many other times where we'll bring him on at half time, we'll bring him on with half an hour, 20 minutes to go. Yeah, he can provide something positive to the team, but when he starts, you can't trust him because he can't give everything to the team.
Yeah, exactly. From a physical standpoint, he's not giving his body to the team like he used to, and I think that's the point Mourinho was saying, and that's why. And they were talking about how complicated the situation is, and whether they want to keep him for 6 months, sell him because he's such a good player. They obviously Levy really wanted him to sign a contract, re-sign. He was desperate for that. He tried everything, but there was nothing doing. And I think they weighed up the risks. You can see it was a complicated situation. They were saying there was no communication between him and his agent, which is also quite interesting because usually in this kind of situation,
there was no communication from the club and his agent. That's what they were saying.
Yeah, but then I'm talking about Levy and his agent.
I thought you meant Eriksen and his agent.
No, but I'm saying the club, Levy and Eriksen's agent, which is quite interesting because you would think in these situations there would be quite an open dialogue.
You would think Levy would be calling up his agent every day.
Yeah, and you'd think you'd know where he stands. Levy would know where he stands.
Yeah.
With 6 months left of his contract, and he's definitely not going to sign, and there'll be an open communication. But seeing as there wasn't a communication, that probably led more suspicion that he just isn't signing. There's nothing they can do. That's why they just closed off communication. Yeah. So you get a lot of behind the scenes of the Eriksen stuff there as well, which was really good. And then it ends just after the Chelsea defeat, going into the Christmas period.
Yeah, which is like, I know we lost the Man U game, but this is like the first kind of down period we see in the documentary, which leads me to believe that the next 3 episodes are going to be very interesting watching, let's be honest.
Well, I think if I remember rightly, our form after Chelsea is not terrible, but then we pick it up again just before
Kane gets injured in the next episode, I think.
So Kane gets injured, and then we kind of pick things up a bit because Son steps up.
But we were playing badly, and Son was getting us out of trouble every game.
So
then Son gets injured,
and then it all goes to proper shit. So I'm looking forward to how Mourinho reacts to that, and how helpless he feels, because we can see how helpless he is on the pitch. I want to see what that looks like behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly, because you remember in the press he was so helpless as well.
Exactly. So I would be interested to see how he tries to motivate his team when we know how the situation was and how bad we were and we just had no chance in any of these games. If he really felt like, look, just try your best, I know we're going to lose, something like that, you know what I mean? I want to see how Mourinho tries to motivate his players. But yeah, another really good episode, really good to see the behind the scenes of the Eriksen interactions, and really good to see how the Mourinho reacts to defeat for the first time, and how Harry Kane reacts when he feels like things aren't good enough. So it was good behind the scenes there.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the next 3 set of episodes.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll be bringing you our reviews next week for that. Hopefully, we'll bring them a bit quicker than we did this week. But let me know in the comment section below anything that we missed, anything that caught your eye. Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, come on, Spurs.
We are Tottenham.